Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you could join me today. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're getting ready for spring. I certainly am. Now I know that necklace doesn't have your traditional spring colors, but I think it's still a very pretty necklace. It has amethyst, green, orange. The only thing that's not traditional is the bronze colors for spring, but I think bronze is a very pretty metal and I love using it in my jewelry. I think I actually like it better than gold or silver. But anyway, when I designed that necklace, I definitely had spring on my mind. I'm definitely ready for warmer temperatures. And actually today we had a little bit of snow. Can you believe that? Now, if you live up north, it's probably normal for you, but for us here in DC, it's not normal. And for those of you who don't live in the USA, yes, we are getting ready to have spring here in the USA. So anyway, guys, that's enough weather talk. I don't know why I feel the need to give you a weather report, but I do. I guess it's because of the necklace that we're going to be making. It's definitely very spring-like in my opinion. I'm going to be using the beads that came in the Misty Moon treasure bag that was released about a week ago. It was a bag that was created by me, and Gina from GGC's Treasures put it together for me. So I'm very grateful to her because you don't know how difficult it is to put together a collection. So anyway, guys, if you're not familiar with this bag, it was released about a week ago. It sold out immediately after being released. So if you missed out on buying the bag, I apologize, but you don't have to miss out. All you have to do is go to her website and sign up for notifications so the next time she launches a bag, you won't miss out. I'll link her website down below so you can go check it out. I'll also put a link to the unboxing video and a necklace that I made a few days ago using the contents from that bag. And if you missed out on getting the bag, don't worry because I'll leave a list of all the materials down below in the description section of this video. I'll make sure that I leave the dimensions, the colors, and everything that I used in making this necklace. So all you have to do is go to Google, put in a search, and hopefully you'll be able to find the items. And by the way, let me remind you about the timestamps down below. I always include them in case you want to skip forward to any portion of the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please think about doing so because it helps my channel and it helps me to stay motivated to create more content for you. So anyway, guys, I want to jump right into this tutorial. So let's go ahead, turn the camera around and we'll get started. Before we start, I want to tell you a little bit about the Misty Moon treasure bag. Let me pop up this picture so you can take a glimpse of what was in the bag. As you can see, it featured beautiful deep purples and light violets, sea greens and oranges. The bag was absolutely gorgeous. It had a mixture of gemstones, crystals, glass beads, and a whole bunch of antique bronze components. So anyway, guys, if you have a chance, please go check out the unboxing. Like I said before, I'll link it down below. Let me go ahead and bring out the beads that we're going to be using for today's project. We're going to be using some of these gorgeous 8mm round amethyst gemstone beads. We're also going to use the 6mm size that came in the bag. We're going to be using some of these pretty dyed orange Malaysia jade rondelle beads. They're 4x3mm in size. For a little bit of sparkle, we're going to use some of these gorgeous faceted rondelle beads in the color dark cyan. They're 6x4mm in size. We'll be using some of these frosted round beads in this gorgeous purple color, and these are 4mm in size. The bag came with two different kinds of leaf pendants. As you can see, they have a glitter paint effect and they're two-tone. The large one measures 28x17x4mm and the smaller ones measure 17.5x10 by 2.9mm. Let me go over the metals with you. As you can see, we're going to be using these beautiful teardrop shaped charms. They're pretty tiny. These measure about 7mm long by 2mm wide. We're also going to be using some of the jump rings that came in the bag, and I think we're only going to be using the 6mm size. As you can see, there are various sizes in there, and I believe the sizes range from 3.5 to 10mm. Now these didn't come in the bag. These are daisy spacers, and they're your common daisy spacer in a bronze color. I believe they're 4mm in size, but if you don't have the exact type, don't worry. Any kind of spacer will do as long as it's 4mm in size. We're going to be using some seed beads, and these are size 8/0 seed beads. They're a Toho type of seed bead. They're rounded, and the color is metallic matte medium bronze. You're going to need some head pins, and these are very thin head pins, and I want to use these to create some little charms. And the reason they're thin is because we're going to be doing some wrap loops. We'll be using some beading wire, and this is by Bead Selection, and it's 49 strands, and the size is 0.018 of an inch or 0.46mm. And as you can see, it's in a gold color. We're going to be doing some crimping today, and I have some crimp tubes here. These are size 2 by Bead Selection. They're in a copper color, but I'm not too concerned because I'm going to be covering them up with some crimp bead covers. And here we have some additional items. We have a lobster claw clasp, some crimp bead covers, and a couple of wire guardians. So now that we have everything, I'm going to go ahead and get organized. Okay, I've pulled out the beads that we're going to be using. I have my 6mm jump rings there and my head pins. And I forgot to mention you're going to need some other type of head pin. Okay, these are a little bit thicker. These are not for wrap loops, these are for simple loops. We're going to be doing wrap loops on some of the charms and simple loops on others. And I wanted to show you guys all the different sizes that came in the bag. As you can see, we have a 10mm size, 8mm size, 6, 5, and 4. And we're going to be using this one here, which is the 6mm. If you have a bead caliper or some other kind of measuring device, you could probably figure it out on your own. So if you don't have one, just know that it's the third one up in size. And I've already played around with these beads, so I kind of know what I'm doing. And the first thing I want to do is create some little charms. So let's go ahead and start with these little tiny purple beads. We're going to need one of these skinny head pins. Thread a bead on, like this. And now we're going to grab the pin at the top of the bead, like this. Kink the wire, like this. Switch to this portion of the pin. And now you're going to wrap the tail around the nose of your pliers, like this. Flip your pliers around. And continue to wrap that tail to the back, like this. Remove the pliers. And now we're going to grab the loop with a skinny set of pliers. And with another set, we're going to do some wraps. And now I'm going to cut off the excess. And now tuck the little tail in if you see one. And this is what you should have. Okay, it's a very tiny little charm. And we're going to need a total of 5. So let me go ahead and make 4 more, just like that. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I created 5 little charms using the 4mm beads. And now we're going to use some bigger beads to create some other charms. So let's go ahead and grab one of these pins now. This is a thicker pin. I'm going to need some of these jade beads, so let me pull some off. So for this next charm, we're going to thread on one of these jade beads, one of these large 8mm beads, and one of these green ones. And now one of these 4mm beads, like this. We're going to kink it just a little bit above where the bead is. Okay, you want a little bit of space so you can make a little bend there. This is going to be a simple loop. So you're going to kink it like this. And now I'm going to snip off the excess, leaving myself about 3/8 of an inch. And now using some round nose pliers, I'm going to create a simple loop. So I'm going to grab the pin like this so that it's flush, and then go ahead and form a loop. You want to make sure that the loop is closed nicely, okay, like this. Let me go ahead and make another one just like that. So here are these 2 charms, and now we're going to do 2 more, but they're going to be smaller than these. So let's go ahead and grab a pin. This time we're going to thread one of these 6mm beads on. And now one of these Malaysia jade rondelles, like this. Once again, you want to kink it right above the bead, leaving yourself a little space for the bend. Snip off the excess, leaving yourself about 3/8 of an inch. And now we're going to create a loop, a simple loop. Just like that. So now let me go ahead and make one more just like that. So here are these 2 now, and now we're going to work on the glass leaves. And this is going to be super easy because we're going to use jump rings. So let's go ahead and grab a jump ring. And now let's open it up. And you need to open it up quite a bit because you need to be able to thread it onto the glass leaf, okay? Now before you thread it on, you need to decide what side of the leaf you want facing front, okay? These have some gold paint on one side only, but these have gold paint on both sides, but they are different. So you're going to need to decide for yourself which side you want facing front. And I think I want this side because it has a little bit more detail, okay? So I'm going to thread my jump ring on this way. And I'm going to thread the little charms on the front there, okay? So we're going to take some of these teardrop shaped beads, and it's a little tricky, but you're just going to thread them on like this. You're going to thread on 2, like that, okay? And then you're going to thread on one of these 4mm beads, one of the charms that you created, okay, like this. And then another 2 of these little teardrop shaped charms. Just like that, okay? And now we're going to very carefully close this jump ring. You want to make sure that it's closed super, super well, okay? You don't want any space at all because you don't want any of these little charms falling off. And this is what you should have, okay? Isn't that adorable? I love that. It's so cute. So now we're going to do the same thing for these two, okay? And like I said, they have gold paint on one side and not on the other side, okay? So you're going to have to decide which side you want facing front. I'm going to have my charms on the front, but at this point it really doesn't matter because it's on a jump ring, so it spins around. Once you thread it onto your beading wire, it'll be held in place by some spacer beads, okay? And that's when you do want to make sure you position them exactly where you want them. Same thing with these, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing with these two, okay? So each one of these jump rings is going to have 4 teardrop shaped beads, these bronze ones, and one of these 4mm, okay? And you want to make sure that you thread them the exact same way. So you thread 2 of these metal ones, then one of these glass ones, and then another 2. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to speed up the camera and I'll meet you back. Okay, I finished these 3 charms, as you can see, and aren't they adorable? So now we have to build 2 more little charms, and I have 2 5mm jump rings this time. Let me go ahead and open this one. And this one's going to have one of these 4mm round beads and 5 of these teardrop shaped metal beads or charms. So here they are threaded on, okay? And now we're going to close up this jump ring. So there's one, and now I'm going to build another one exactly the same as this one. So here's another one exactly the same, okay? Let me put these away because we don't need these anymore. So let me show you how we're going to arrange these, okay? We're going to have this one in the middle. And then we're going to hang these 2 on either side of it, like this. And then I'm going to put one leaf there and one leaf here, like this. And then this charm here and this charm on this side. And then this one here and this one on this side. Okay, something like that. Now in between all of these, we're going to have some daisy spaces. So let me go get the daisy spaces and I'm going to get some magic rods to arrange everything. So here are my daisy spaces. And here are my magic rods. I carry these in my Etsy store and I use these to arrange bead patterns. Every time I make a tutorial, I always bring them out because they really do help me. I can't seem to design without these now. Now, if you don't have these, you can use a beading board, okay? The trouble with beading boards is that it's really difficult to hold beads and charms and spaces and everything up close together, okay? The rods allow you to do that because, as you can see, there are stoppers on either end. So what you do is you thread everything on and then you bring the stoppers in close and it holds everything together, and that way you can get an accurate measurement. So I'm only going to need 1 rod, I think, for the bottom portion of the necklace. Now, whenever I arrange anything, I always like to start from the middle. So I'm going to start with this pendant here. So let me go ahead and take the stopper off, and I'm going to thread this pendant on. And like I said before, I want the little charm to hang on the front like this, okay? And now I'm going to thread on a couple of these daisy spaces. There's one on this side. Let me put my stopper on and I'm going to put another one on the other side, okay? That's the nice thing about rods. You can switch sides whenever you want to. And now let me add another spacer bead here. So this is how it's going to sit, okay? And the daisy spaces are going to keep that little charm in place, okay? Once we thread the rest of them on, the beads and everything, it should prevent that little charm from spinning around. Although there still is the possibility, okay? But I'm thinking that once we put it on beading wire and all the beads are up against each other, it should not do that, okay? So now the next bead is going to be one of these amethyst beads, okay? One of these large ones. Like this. And then another spacer. Like this, okay? And now I'm going to add this one here. And another spacer bead. Let's see what that looks like. That looks absolutely adorable. I love it. Let me add another amethyst bead. And another spacer bead. This is what we have so far. And now this leaf charm. And another spacer bead. And now another amethyst bead. That looks so pretty. I love that combination, the green and the purple. It's so beautiful. So now let's put on another spacer bead and the next charm and another spacer bead. That looks really cute. Let me thread one of these 8mm beads, a spacer bead, this charm, another spacer bead, and that looks absolutely adorable. I love it. So now before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and build this side. Let me put a stopper on this side so I don't lose everything. And we'll switch. And I'm going to repeat the exact same sequence, okay? So 8mm amethyst, spacer, charm, another spacer, another 8mm bead, a spacer bead, a charm, and I do want to make sure that it's facing the same direction as the other one, okay? A spacer bead, an 8mm bead, another spacer bead, a charm, a spacer bead, another 8mm, a spacer bead, and this last charm, and another spacer bead. And that one's clogged up. Let me get a different one. Sometimes that happens. Let's see what we have so far. I think that looks so adorable. Let me put a stopper on. Bring everything together. Let me flip these dangles over to the other side before I bring everything together. Because once I do that, then they're not going to spin around as much. So this is the front. And don't you just love that? Oh my gosh, that looks so cute. I think that is adorable. So now what I was thinking of doing is bringing in that green somehow, okay? And I was going to have a series of beads, maybe the green, the purple, and another green one on this side. Same thing on the other side. Kind of like this. and then I'll add some of these jade beads up the strand. And I think that's going to look really nice. So let me go ahead and add these 3 beads. I need more of these daisy spacers. That's probably too many, but I'll remove the ones I don't use. So let's go ahead and remove the stopper from this end and thread on a green bead, an amethyst bead, and another green bead, and another spacer bead like this. That looks cute. And now I was thinking about adding these jade beads up the strand. So let me go ahead and remove some. I'm just going to offload them from the strand directly onto the rod. So let me grab 4 of them and see if I can do that without dropping them. There's 2, and there's another 2, so that's 4. So that looks really cute. I like that. I think I'm going to add a few more though. Let me move these down. And I think I'm going to grab another 4 and slide them onto my rod and see how that looks. I like that very much. I really like that. I think that looks cute. So now what I was thinking about doing is adding another colored bead. So perhaps the purple bead. But before I do, let me add a spacer bead. And then one of these amethyst beads. And another daisy spacer. Let's see how that looks. Let me move it down. I like that very much. But I don't want to get my rod too crowded, so I'm going to put a stopper on this end and I'm going to repeat the same pattern on the other end. So we have 2 green and 1 purple. There's the green, amethyst, and green. Okay, and a spacer bead. Just like that. Let me move it down. Now I need to add the jade beads. So let me offload 4, because that's how many I can hold between my index finger and my thumb. And now another 4. And now a daisy spacer, the amethyst bead, and another daisy spacer. Let me put my stopper on. Let me flip it around because this is the front. And isn't that just absolutely adorable, guys? I love that. So this is the bottom portion of the necklace. Okay, so now I have to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of the necklace. So I'm thinking about repeating this same sequence of jade beads on this side, okay, and then switching to the green bead, and then repeating another sequence of jade beads. Or maybe I can switch to seed beads at that point instead of running the jade bead all the way to the clasp, okay, because it really doesn't matter what's in the back of the neck. You don't see it. So I really don't want to waste these beautiful jade beads on the back of the neck. I guess if you have short hair and you want to show off the back of the neck, it would be okay. But I want to actually save these jade beads for another necklace. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do another set of jade beads and then a green bead and then seed beads for the rest of the necklace. So let me go ahead and do that. So here are 2 more rods. I'm going to use one for one side of the necklace and the other one for the other side of the necklace. Let me move this up a little bit. And I'm going to pour some seed beads here. So let me go ahead and load these rods. I'm going to speed up the film and I'll meet you back. Okay, I've loaded some more of these rondelles, a green bead and some seed beads. Before I go any further, I want to measure it because I need to know how many to add, okay? So let's go ahead and measure this bottom portion first. So this portion measures about 7 3/4, and this portion here measures about 4 1/4. So 4 1/4 times 2 is about 8 1/2. 8.5 plus 7 3/4 is about 16 1/4. And I think that's a little bit too long for what I want, because by the time you add the jump rings and the clasp, the necklace is going to end up being a little bit longer than that, okay? And I want my necklace to be about 16 inches long, okay? So I think what I'm going to do is remove some of these seed beads. I'm not going to remove that many, maybe 3 or 4. Let me put my stopper back on. So now that I have some idea of how many seed beads I need, let me go ahead and load the second rod for the other side of the necklace. Okay, I've loaded some seed beads, as you can see. Let me see if it's the same measurement as this one. And it looks like it's the same, okay? So let me put my stopper on. Bring everything together. Double check the measurement. So each one of these measure 4 inches, so that's 8 inches. And then this measures 7 3/4. So that's good, because by the time I add the jump rings and the clasp, it'll be 16 inches. Let me go ahead and remove these spacer beads. We don't need them anymore. And these seed beads as well. Here's my beading wire. I'm going to cut myself a length that's about 20 inches long. So whatever length you decide to cut, make sure you give yourself 2 inches at each end for the crimping, okay? I'm going to use an office clip to clip off this end so I don't lose the beads. And now I'm going to start loading the beads from this end. So to offload from the rods, what you need to do is hold on to this end, take the stopper off this end like this, and then grab a bunch of seed beads all at once and thread them directly onto your beading wire like this, okay? Pretty simple. And because the rods hold the beads in alignment, you're able to do that, okay? And I can't tell you how useful it is for seed beads. I find it's a lot easier to load seed beads when the rods hold them in alignment. Now for this one, I'm actually going to grab the spacer beads and the rondelle all at once like this. Okay. Let me go ahead and remove this rod. And now we're going to work on this one here. Remove the stopper from this end and then offload. Okay, I've loaded everything. Let me put a clip on this end. Let's see how it looks so far. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. And like I said, these little teardrop charms are not going to sit properly until we bring everything close together and crimp it off. But before we do that, I'm going to take it up to the mirror, hold it up to my chest, and see if this is the right length or if I need to add any more seed beads. So let me go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I think it's perfect. I'm not going to add any more seed beads. So let me go ahead and get the crimp beads. Here are the crimp beads. Here's my lobster claw clasp. Here are my 2 crimp bead covers. I have 2 jump rings and some wire guardians. Let's go ahead and do this end. We're simply going to thread on a crimp tube like this. And now let's thread on a wire guardian. So you're going to go in through one end like this. Take the tail and go through the other end like this. And now take the tail and go through the crimp tube. Bring the crimp tube down like this. And now you want to take out the slack because you want that beading wire to sit inside that wire guardian, okay? I like to close the little legs of the wire guardian like this. You want to make sure that your beading wire is not crossed inside that crimp tube, okay? If you hold it like this, separate it, you'll have good luck, okay? And now I'm going to use the first notch of my crimping pliers, this one right here, and that creates the little U shape. So I'm going to place my crimp tube inside, and before I crimp down, I'm going to pull the tail to make sure that the beading wire is sitting inside that wire guardian, and separate your beading wire one more time before you crimp down. Just like that. Turn it on its side. I'm going to choose the middle notch of my crimping pliers, okay, to fold that crimp tube over like this. And then I'm going to switch to the tip to tighten it up a little bit more, just like that. And now I'm going to snip off the tail because I don't like to thread the tail through the beads, okay? Eventually what happens is the beading wire actually stretches out and then the tail pops out, and that's really annoying. So I like to cut it off. As long as you do your crimping really well, you really don't need the tail, okay? So you want to get in really close next to that crimp tube, snip it off. And now let's slide on one of these crimp tube covers, like that. I like to use these crimping pliers to close my crimp cover. And I like to go around the whole bead to make sure that it's round. You do want to be careful, you don't want to dent that metal, okay? So that looks pretty good. And now we're going to move everything down to make sure there are no spaces, okay? Let me move these out of the way. So now we have to make sure that the little charms, these little teardrop shaped charms, are sitting on the front of these glass beads, okay? So you want to flip them over so they're all on the front of the bead, okay? So I'm going to start at this end and just make sure that the little teardrop shapes are on the front, okay? And like I said, the spacer beads are going to keep them in place. So that looks pretty good, okay? Now you do want the strands to be fluid. You don't want them too tight, okay? So now let's go ahead and crimp this side. I'm going to thread on a crimp tube. And now my wire guardian, going in one end, bring it down, and go through the other end. Pull. And now I'm going to take the tail and go through the crimp tube and pull. Let me close up the legs of this wire guardian. Bring everything down, okay? Check your necklace one more time, make sure there are no spaces. Try to keep your beading wire separated like this. And now go ahead and place it inside the first notch. Crimp it down. Turn it on its side. And fold it over. And tighten it up. Just like that. Get in really close and snip off the excess. Slide on a crimp cover. Like this, and close it up. So now we have both ends crimped off, okay? Let's open up this jump ring, connect it to this end, and connect the clasp. Close it up now. And now let's do this side. This side's just going to have a jump ring only. And that's it, guys. Pretty easy. And look how beautiful this necklace is, guys. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. It's so spring-like. I love it. I love the combination of the orange jade and the beautiful amethyst. And of course, these lovely green beads definitely make it look spring-like. So anyway, guys, I'm really happy with this necklace. I absolutely adore it. Like I said before, if you wanted to, you could run the jade all the way up to where the clasp is, okay? You could even put chain up there instead, okay? But I like it like this. I think it's really pretty. So now let me go ahead and put it on and show you what it looks like. I'm so glad that I didn't use all the jade beads, because I think what I'm going to do is sell this one and then I'm going to make another one for myself. I absolutely adore this necklace. I hope you like it as well. It's definitely very spring-like. And like I said at the beginning of the video, even though the colors are not your traditional pastel spring colors, it's still very pretty. And of course, I love it even more because it has my favorite stone, amethyst, and that's definitely my favorite color. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.